if you are applying for an entry-level job today, you have less than a 1% chance of actually getting it.
Yeah, and it's roughly a 3% chance of even getting an interview.
Which is just, I mean, it's wild. Our sources today reveal that the modern labor market isn't just difficult, it is a mathematically broken lottery.
Right. You meticulously tweak your bullet points, hit submit, and then just face absolute silence.
You're just throwing a resume into a black hole.
Yeah.
But today, we are going deep into how that specific collapse is being engineered out of existence.
Oh, exactly.
And our sources for this deep dive are a really fascinating stack of internal documents. We have a strategic business memo for a startup concept called WorkTravel Academy, their internal gateway logic testing framework for new candidates, and, to explain the engine behind it all, a massive, highly technical startup technical guide to AI agents directly from Google Cloud.
So we are looking at a space where high-level business strategy basically collides with cutting-edge, production-grade artificial intelligence.
Right. And our mission today is to unpack how this specific AI architecture is being used to completely destroy the traditional resume and build a brand new proof-over-pedigree labor market. Okay, let's unpack this.
Let's do it.
Before we get into the really heavy AI tech, we need to understand why this technology is even necessary right now. Like, what is fundamentally broken about the current system?
Well, the data points to a massive trust gap. On one side, you have what the strategy memo calls unverified juniors.
Okay.
This is a huge global supply of entry-level talent trying to break into the tech industry. And on the other side, you have risk-averse employers.
Right.
These companies have a high demand for talent, but the financial cost of making a bad hire is huge. I mean, training them, giving them access to the code base, and then realizing they can't actually code.
That's a nightmare.
It's crippling. So they simply refuse to take a chance on someone without a proven multi-year track record.
Because, a PDF resume can say absolutely anything. It doesn't prove you can actually sit down and write functional software.
Exactly. In the 2025 labor market, the documents confirm that trust and verification are the single most valuable commodities.
Not degrees.
Nope, not university degrees, not perfectly formatted resumes with, the exact right keywords. Verification is everything.
Which really makes the origin story of this startup so interesting to me. Because they originally planned to build a straightforward recruitment software tool called SkillBridge.
Right.
But they completely pivoted their strategy to create an ecosystem called WorkTravel Academy. And the reason why is entirely based on Kickstarter's terms of service.
Yeah, the crowdfunding constraints actually dictated the entire business model. Kickstarter explicitly bans the funding of business services.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you cannot just go on there and crowdfund a B2B recruiting platform. They will shut your campaign down immediately.
But Kickstarter loves what the memo calls creative revolutions.
Yes.
So to get the funding they needed, the founders shifted to a reward-based consumer model. They started selling a Nomad roadmap and Academy seats directly to individual users.
They were forced to turn a basic recruitment tool into a full-blown career accelerator ecosystem.
Which is wild.
It forced a brilliant structural pivot, really. They recognized that to fix the hiring problem, they couldn't just build a better job board or, another applicant tracking system.
Right.
They had to build a system from the ground up that generates verifiable proof of a candidate's skill.
Think of traditional hiring like buying a used car based entirely on the paint job without ever being allowed to check under the hood.
That's a great way to put it.
Resumes are just the paint job. It looks shiny, the formatting is clean, but you have no idea if the engine actually runs until you pay for it and drive it off the lot.
And employers are just tired of buying lemons. They want to see the engine running before they sign the paperwork.
Okay, so if resumes are just the paint job, how do we actually check under the hood?
Well, this is where we need to open up that Google Cloud technical guide.
Right, because the engine powering this verification is built on AI agents. So let's define what that actually means in this context.
So an AI agent is very different from a standard chatbot that just generates text responses.
Okay.
The Google Cloud Guide emphasizes a framework called REACT, which stands for Reason, Act, Observe. You have to think of an agent as an executive function.
Like a manager.
Yeah, exactly. You give it a complex goal, and it orchestrates the steps to get there. It assesses the goal, forms a hypothesis, selects a specific digital tool to use, acts by calling that tool, observes the output, and then iterates its plan based on what just happened.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, but I have to push back a little.
Sure.
Isn't an AI agent just a fancy script following if-in rules? Like, if the user says the word refund, then trigger the refund script.
Yeah.
We've had that technology for a decade.
And that is the crucial distinction. A script is deterministic, meaning it only does exactly what it was hard-coded to do.
Right.
An agent is non-deterministic. It is dynamic. The Google Cloud Guide gives a perfect example of a refund process to illustrate this.
Walk us through that.
So a hard-coded script just blind fires a refund if a certain word is detected. An agent, using React, actually reasons about the problem.
It thinks about it.
In a way, yes. First, the agent realizes it needs to know the company's refund policy, so it independently selects a semantic search tool to read the internal knowledge base.
Wow, okay.
It observes that the policy requires the purchase to have been made within 30 days. Then it reasons that it needs the specific user's purchase date, so it drops the search tool and selects a CRM tool to pull the customer's data.
Without anyone telling it to switch tools.
Exactly. It observes the date, does the math on its own, confirms the purchase is within the 30-day window, and only then does it select a final separate tool to actually process the refund.
So it's figuring out the path on its own based on the tools you give it access to.
Yes. It is not a pre-programmed track. It is a continuous cognitive loop of evaluating the situation and taking the next logical step.
Okay, so how do we apply this React logic to actually verify a junior developer's skills? Let's look at the startup's Gateway Logic audit framework.
Right, the entry test.
Yeah, this is the test candidates take to get into the WorkTravel Academy. So question 4 of this test asks the candidate why a developer must move a client from a platform like Wix to a headless tech stack.
And the logic audit makes it clear that the grading agent is looking for a very specific technical understanding here.
Right.
Moving away from Wix proves something vital about the candidate.
Wait, why would moving away from Wix prove someone is a good developer? A lot of people build businesses on Wix.
They do, but platforms like Wix or Squarespace are closed ecosystems. They don't allow you to execute custom server-side code safely.
Ah, okay.
To build a highly scalable, complex application, you really need a headless stack.
And for anyone listening who isn't a software engineer, what does headless actually mean?
Okay, so a traditional website bundles the front end, the visual part you click on, and the back end, the database and server logic tightly together.
Right.
A headless architecture literally chops the head off. The visual front end is completely separated from the back end database.
So they don't automatically talk to each other.
Exactly. To make them communicate, a developer has to build custom APIs and run real server-side code utilizing infrastructure like GCP Cloud Run.
So the test is designed to immediately weed out people who just use no-code, drag-and-drop website builders.
Yeah.
If you don't understand how to connect a decoupled front end and back end, you don't get into the academy.
But the real magic happens in question 3 of the Gateway framework, which defines the startup's verification moat.
Oh, this is the cool part.
Yeah, they don't just ask multiple choice questions. They have to prove the candidate can actually write the code to build that headless stack.
Right.
They do this through hybrid grading using Firecracker micro VMs and Vertex AI.
Okay, a micro VM. Break that down for us.
Think of a micro VM or micro virtual machine like a digital bomb testing room.
A bomb testing room.
Yeah, because you want to see if a student's code actually works, but you definitely don't want to run unverified code on your main company servers.
Right, in case it contains a virus or like a fatal crash loop that takes everything down.
Exactly. So you put the student's code inside this blast-proof, highly isolated digital room.
And the AI agent triggers the code from safely outside the room.
The AI agent, which is powered by Vertex AI, spins up the micro VM in milliseconds, executes the student's code inside it, and watches what happens through the reinforced glass.
Wow.
It observes the actual compiled output and verifies that the software functions exactly as intended, and then it immediately destroys the room.
That is wild. The AI acts as a senior engineer running your code in a disposable, safe environment to mathematically prove it works.
And this completely solves the expensive bad hire problem we talked about earlier.
Because there's no guessing.
Right. The employer never has to trust the candidate's shiny resume. They just trust the mathematical, agent-verified proof that the candidate can execute the required tasks.
Okay, I see a massive flaw here, though.
Let's hear it.
A verification system is completely useless if the AI itself hallucinates. We've all seen AI confidently make up facts.
Oh, absolutely.
If the AI senior engineer suddenly forgets what good code looks like, the entire verification moat collapses, right?
It would, but the Google Cloud Guide addresses this directly through the concepts of grounding and memory.
Okay.
An agent is only as reliable as the data it retrieves. To prevent hallucinations, they use an architecture called RAG, or Retrieval Augmented Generation.
How does RAG actually stop the AI from making things up?
It forces the AI to fact-check itself before it speaks or acts. The agent doesn't just rely on whatever it vaguely remembers from its initial training data years ago.
Right, doesn't just guess.
No. Before grading a student's code, the system uses Vertex AI Search as its long-term memory to instantly pull fresh, verified coding standards from trusted knowledge bases.
So it's looking up the rulebook every single time.
Yes. But reading the rulebook takes computing time. Working memory, the context of the current live interaction, needs to be incredibly fast. For that, the architecture uses memory store, which acts like a digital whiteboard. It provides sub-millisecond caching so the AI doesn't have to constantly re-query the main database for things it just looked up a second ago.
That makes sense. But what happens if an employer wants to challenge the AI's grading? Say they want proof of how the AI arrived at its conclusion.
That is handled by the transactional memory layer. Every time the AI agent verifies a skill or executes a critical grading action, it writes an ACD-compliant record to Cloud SQL.
ACD compliant, that sounds like a battery leak.
Yeah, it's just database terminology. AC stands for atomicity, consistency, isolation, and durability.
Okay, and what does that actually mean for the audit?
In simple terms, it means the record is permanent, it cannot be altered after the fact, and it won't be corrupted even if the entire server crashes in the middle of writing it.
Wow.
It creates a bulletproof, immutable audit trail of exactly what the agent did and why it passed or failed the student.
Okay, so the technology seems locked down, but a verified student who can write perfect code is still useless to an employer if they have a terrible work ethic.
That's very true.
The Academy testing framework actually measures this human element too. In question 8 of the Gateway quiz, the candidate is given a scenario. A client's website goes down. What is your immediate action?
And the options provided in the grading rubric are very revealing about the culture they are trying to build.
Right, because if you choose the option, wait for a mentor to advise or email your sponsor for instructions, the rubric flags you as having an employee mindset.
And you fail the test.
Yep. The only acceptable answer is to log into the Google Cloud, console yourself, check the error logs, and immediately initiate a rollback to the last working version.
The Academy demands what they call an agentic or owner mindset.
Exactly.
Yep.
So what does this mean for you, the listener, navigating this new market? The AI is handling 80% of the grunt work now.
Right. The boilerplate code, the basic error checking.
Which frees human workers up. But it also means you can never act like a helpless intern waiting for instructions again.
No, you have to take complete ownership. You have to act like an autonomous agent yourself.
But acting like an owner in total isolation takes a massive psychological toll. Remote autonomy is really hard.
It is.
Which leads perfectly into this fascinating cultural detail in the strategy memo about slowmanism.
Oh, this is a really interesting point.
Right. The Academy specifically filters for candidates who practice slowmanism, meaning they stay in one physical location for 3 to 6 months at a time.
They do this to combat the extreme loneliness of the typical digital nomad life, where people jump from city to city every week.
It's exhausting.
Right. They're actively trying to weed out tourists and find stable, focused owners. They are engineering the ecosystem to ensure not just technical proficiency, but the psychological resilience required for long-term remote work.
That is such a critical piece of the puzzle. Let's shift gears and talk about the underlying economics of this, because computing power is not free.
Definitely not.
Running Vertex AI, spinning up Firecracker micro VMs for every single line of code a student writes. How does a crowdfunded startup actually pay to keep the lights on during this learning phase?
Well, the strategy file outlines a local business case that reveals a really clever market arbitrage.
Yep.
Their internal data shows that 27% of small businesses still do not have a website, almost entirely due to the prohibitive upfront cost.
Right. If a local bakery goes to a custom web agency, they're going to be quoted anywhere from $10,000 to $35,000.
Exactly.
Even hiring a decent freelancer is going to cost $2,000 minimum.
So WorkTravel Academy targets those businesses with an unbeatable value proposition. They offer the bakery a custom, student-built headless website that is rigorously verified by their AI agent system for a flat $500 sponsorship fee.
I mean, I have to ask the obvious question here. Is this just a fancy way to exploit cheap student labor, or is this a genius method for bypassing traditional university debt?
Well, if you look at the financial mechanics, it is a highly effective arbitrage. The small business is receiving a $5,000 market value product for $500.
That's a steal.
Right. And the student, instead of going $100,000 into debt for a computer science degree, gets to build a verified production-level portfolio piece without paying tuition.
And the local bakery isn't taking on the traditional risk of a junior developer accidentally deleting their database because the AI agent is acting as the quality control safety net.
The micro VMs test the code before it ever touches the client's live server.
Wow.
The AI completely absorbs the operational risk. The business gets affordable infrastructure, and the student gets monetized, real-world experience.
So WorkTravel Academy verifies the individual student. The small business gets their website. But what happens when this closed learning ecosystem needs to interface with the broader corporate world?
Right. How do they actually get jobs?
Exactly. How do these verified students actually get hired by enterprise companies at scale?
This is perhaps the most revolutionary concept in the Google Cloud Guide. It introduces the A2A, or agent-to-agent protocol.
AI is talking directly to other AIs.
Yes. It is an open standard that allows independent agents to discover and communicate with each other securely, regardless of what company built them.
Okay.
They do this using digital business cards, typically a JSON file.
Why a JSON file? What does that actually do?
JSON is just a lightweight format for storing and transporting data. In this context, the JSON file acts as a standardized ID badge.
Got it.
It lists exactly what the agent is capable of doing, what security permissions it has, and the specific digital endpoints where it can be reached.
So my personal AI agent can literally hand its digital ID badge to your AI agent, and they can start collaborating.
And the real-world applications of A2A are already in production.
Really?
Yeah, the technical guide highlights a company called BioCortex, which uses A2A graph agents to test the biological plausibility of complex drug hypotheses. They are navigating massive medical knowledge graphs and saving years of human testing time by having specialized independent agents argue and collaborate with each other.
That's incredible.
Or look at Zoom. They are using A2A so their AI companion can automatically negotiate with a Google Workspace agent to schedule meetings via Gmail without a human ever having to open a calendar application.
Okay, if you're listening to this and you spent 3 hours this week perfectly tweaking the margins on a PDF resume, you have to realize that in this new ecosystem, no human eyes will ever see it.
Probably not.
Bring this A2A concept back to our unverified junior developer trying to get a job.
Okay, imagine the WorkTravel Academy AI agent. It holds the cryptographic proof, those ACD-compliant Cloud SQL audit logs, of every single piece of code the student has successfully written and deployed.
Right.
Now imagine an enterprise employer looking to hire a junior developer. That employer has an HR AI agent.
And the two agents find each other.
Exactly. The Academy agent directly pings the employer's HR agent via the A2A protocol. They exchange JSON business cards, establish a secure connection, and negotiate the candidate's verified skill level instantly, machine to machine.
It completely bypasses human bias.
Entirely.
It bypasses the applicant tracking systems that throw out your resume because you forgot to include a specific buzzword. It bypasses the entire 3% resume lottery.
Because the employer's HR agent doesn't need to guess if the candidate is competent. The Academy's agent provides the undeniable mathematical proof of execution.
Wow.
It is a pure, frictionless transaction of verified skill.
We have traveled a massive distance today. We went from the theoretical architecture of Google Cloud's React agents down into the gritty reality of a startup using GCP Cloud Run and micro VM bomb testing rooms to solve the bad hire problem.
It's a lot to take in.
It really is. We've seen how they filter for the psychological resilience of slow-modism, and how they use a $500 web design arbitrage to monetize the learning phase and bypass university debt.
It represents a comprehensive reimagining of how human potential is developed, verified, and ultimately deployed in the age of artificial intelligence.
Which leaves us with a final thought. If AI can now verify our human skills with 100% accuracy inside a micro-virtual machine, and our personal digital agents are negotiating our job placements via A2A protocols in milliseconds, what happens to the concept of the job interview?
That's the real question.
If your digital agent can perfectly mathematically prove your competence to a company's digital agent, will we soon be hired for jobs where we never speak to a single human being until our very first day of work? Think about that next time you sit down to throw your resume into the black hole.